Hey, good evening, everybody. Welcome to Courtroom Insider. I'm Nate Eaton coming to you from beautiful, sunny Phoenix, and we have a jury. Da-da-da-da-da-da. It happened today after some eventful moments this morning in court, actually, before court even started. We are going to talk about it. We're going to go through what happened today, who generally is not on the jury, not their names or anything like that. Thanks for being with me tonight. Thanks for being here with me tonight. Last night I did a little poll during our Courtroom Insider asking how many of you think the court will actually happen, that the trial would actually happen beginning today. And I would say it was split about 50-50. And that's kind of how I was on the fence. I was thinking, well, if she's still sick tomorrow, and the judge says she can't go on, I think he dismisses the jury and we push this off. But if she's not sick, I think he's going to tell her to push through it. And I figured the determining factor would be if the medical professionals at the jail did a test and she came back and tested positive for the flu, for COVID, for pneumonia, something very serious that could infect others, or she seriously was suffering from a really catastrophic illness, then he would put it off. That's not what happened. What did happen, though, well, actually, I'm jumping ahead. Let me tell you what we're gonna talk about tonight. Okay, we got a full program tonight. The medical evaluation was ordered. We'll talk about that tonight. I just kind of alluded to it a second ago. The trial will proceed. Jury selection concluded. Judge Beresky was quite thorough in everything he was doing with jury selection today. We have winners of our giveaway that we did yesterday, and a former juror was in the courtroom today. She went to watch the proceedings, and she's here. She's going to talk about what she observed, and we will answer your questions. So we got a lot to talk about. Let me show you what it was like. Well, let me back up a bit. This morning, woke up, reached out to the Maricopa County Sheriff's Office, quick email, will Lori Daybell be in court today? The response I got was, she will only be there if the judge orders her to be there. It's interesting. So we knew the other day the judge was going to order her to be there. He told her, he told her, you will be here. She said, are you going to come and drag me from my cell in here? Da, 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 da. He said, yeah, I am. You need to come. But then I thought, well, if she tested positive for something yesterday, he might not order her to be there. And given the way the jail responded to the question, to me and Justin Lum at Fox, it sounded like she might not be there. Get in the car, drive to court. By the time I'm there, I have an email from them saying the judge has issued an order. She is being transported. All right, we knew Lori was going to be there. She showed up. 10 o'clock was the arrival time. This is Lori walking into the courtroom. No wheelchair today. She walks in holding her files. She seems to be a little kind of hunched over, not her jovial. Normally she's walking in pretty quickly. Turns around, looks to see who's in there. Let me play that for you one more time. That is the room where she is with that deputy the whole time. So she walks in. She is wearing the rack belt underneath her clothes. She has worn that outfit before. There's her paralegal, Anna, in red, and then her other attorneys were there too. So that is her when she walked in. We learned this morning that the judge put this on the record in a minute entry the other day that was just released. He said it would be beneficial to the parties and the court to have some objective measures of the extent of the defendant's illness. I think that would be helpful, don't you? The court requires the Madison County Sheriff's Office direct qualified medical personnel to assess the defendant within the next 24 hours. He issued this right after court Monday. So he's saying within 24 hours, by yesterday, I need to know, I need to have her evaluated. He goes on to write, the court is not requiring the Madison County Sheriff's Office to divulge any HIPAA-protected information. However, Ms. Daybell may be required to produce some form of objective information if she is seeking any continuance beyond Wednesday, June 4th. It is ordered waiving any copay to the extent there may be a copay from the defendant required. I don't know if Lori's got to pay a copay, maybe, but I don't know if she has insurance, and I don't think she's got money to pay a copay. But basically, The judge said, get a medical exam done so we can know what's happening. Also, there was nothing filed asking for a continuance. You know how Lori could get a continuance if she wanted one? She could say, Your Honor, I no longer am fit to represent myself. I want my co-counsel to take on this case. And then the co-counsel could say, Your Honor, we are not prepared. We need to go through all of the evidence and all of the exhibits, everything. And most likely the judge would get a continuance maybe into next year because the previous attorney said they weren't ready. We know Lori's made it very clear she wants to leave Arizona. She wants to be back in Idaho. And so she obviously is not going to do that. So we know that the minute entry was made from the judge to get her a medical eval. We know she showed up to court. We were ready with cameras rolling. Well, court TV was. This is what happened when she walked in. Now, I did cut out about 10 minutes of a sidebar with the attorneys on their headsets chatting with each other with the judge. We don't know what was said there. Clearly, there was back and forth questioning. You can watch the whole thing on our YouTube channel. You won't hear anything. You'll just see it. But here is the audio parts, the part you can hear about this morning's hearing.
All right, we're going on the record, State of Arizona versus Lori Daybell, CR 2022-001242. Can I have appearances, please?
Trina Kay on behalf of the state, and for the record, the victim is present in the courtroom.
All right.
Daybell for the defense.
All right, I'm going to need you to scoot up to that microphone. We also have present in the courtroom a representative from the Maricopa County Sheriff's Office. Do you want to announce?
Yes, Your Honor. Joseph V. Hill on behalf of the Sheriff's Office and Correctional Health Services.
All right. After court on Monday, immediately after court, I ordered the Sheriff's Office to provide some sort of medical assessment of the defendant. I received a pleading late yesterday afternoon indicating that Correctional Health Services examined the defendant around 12:30 p.m. yesterday. The defendant was treated for one condition, and Correctional Health Services has indicated that from a medical standpoint, we do not find any clinical indications to miss court. Is that correct, Mr. Vigil?
Yes, Your Honor, and we have additional information if you need it, but it's not much. But
all right. All right, let me turn to the defendant.
This is probably going to be a HIPAA violation coming up.
Your Honor, first of all, can all of this be sealed? Anything that having to do with my medical? I don't think that's something that all of this needs to be sealed, including the minute entry and
Hold on.
the response from MCSO, all these things.
I can seal the response from MCSO, yeah, but to the extent, well, do you have any other information you want to provide me as to why you're not medically able to proceed? Right now, the only objective information I have is that you were assessed and CHS sees no clinical indications of why you need to miss court.
They told me
If it's
that
something you want to discuss on sidebar, we can do that.
that would be great.
All right, I'll ask. Intends on proceeding with jury selection today. Depending on how things go, I don't know that I would make the parties do their opening statements or not, but that remains to be seen today. The court finds that the court has not been provided any objective medical information of why the defendant can't proceed today. Although the defendant expressed that she has a headache and is not able to proceed, she was able to fully advocate on her own behalf and articulate to me the reasons why she doesn't think she can proceed and seems to be of sound mind and ability to proceed. So we're going to bring the jury in. How many jurors do we have? We're still missing 6. Mr. Vigil, you can be excused.
thank you, Your Honor.
We'll give those jurors a few more minutes.
All right, so there you have it. The trial will proceed. The judge gave the jurors a few more minutes to report for work, and that's what they did. The rest of the day went as such that there was let me just turn my phone off. It's making some noise here. The pool of about 55-ish all came into the courtroom. They set the the 18 up in the jury box, and then the rest sat on the one side of the courtroom. The judge began by asking questions. How many of you have heard of this case? Have any of you heard of this case? Do any of you have family members who are in law enforcement? And would that prohibit you from being fair and impartial? Have any of you had worked for the court system? Do any of you know who I am? Do any of you know who the prosecutor is? Do any of you know who the defense is? He went through his line of questioning. Then Trina K did. He asked Trina K to stay at the prosecutor's table. Normally, she would stand up, go to the lectern, and address all the jurors. She didn't today. That was for the benefit of Lori, because Lori wasn't feeling well. So it was kind of a little, I don't want to say awkward, but normally when you address a group of people, you want to stand so they can see you. If you were seated in the back, you might be like, who's talking? So she kind of turned around like this and just made sure that they could see her. She asked questions, an interesting one, such as, she goes, she asked, well, first about, did any of them have strong feelings about the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, LDS, Mormons? No one raised their hand. Then she said, I only asked this because it's become political. Brandon Boudreaux, the victim in this case, was driving a Tesla. Do any of you have strong feelings about Teslas, that it would cloud your fact to where you could not be fair and impartial? None of them raised their hands. She asked a couple of other questions. It was now Lori's turn to ask questions. And miraculously, you could say, Lori's voice came back to her. She was able to talk normal. She was still soft. She sat at her table. She was very polite. She asked some good questions, about, have any of you had run-ins with the law, your thoughts about the law? In fact, she asked if any of them were gun owners, if any of them had gone to a range before. They raised their hands. She thanked them for their honesty. And then after that, I'm really summarizing like an hour of court proceedings into 2 minutes. The judge dismissed them to go out in the hallway. The judge suggested that a few of them be released, such as one that needed to go to France for a wedding, a couple of others that had some conflicts. The prosecutor agreed. Lori really didn't respond to the judge. In fact, at one point, he looked at her and asked a question, and she didn't respond. She wouldn't move the microphone to her mouth. And he did say, I want to note on the record that when the jurors were in here, the defendant seemed fine and healthy. Yet, when they were not here with me, she suddenly cannot talk. It was just an interesting thing, which that, there was one of you sent me an actual, okay, this was fascinating to me. And I'd never heard this. I'm taking a pivot here. I guess that's my prerogative. I'm hosting the show, so I can do what I want. Someone sent me this yesterday and said that maybe Lori is having a narcissistic collapse. It's an intense emotional reaction experienced by a narcissistic person when they sense a setback. It can lead to withdrawal or vindictive behaviors and possibly illness. It's not a permanent occurrence when it happens. Typically, the emotional pain will decrease and the person may return to feeling their usual. People with narcissistic personality disorder are often portrayed by self-assured, confident individuals who care nothing about others. In reality, they are more complex emotional beings like everyone else. They live with a mental health condition that has formal symptoms like grandiosity, low empathy, and the constant need for praise and admiration. Although there's no consensus about it, some experts have found that this attitude of superiority may help them compensate for fragile self-esteem and a sense of vulnerability. This is from Psych Central. The narcissistic collapse refers to an emotional reaction that some people with narcissistic personality disorder experience under certain circumstances. It isn't a condition. It may be more common. It's when a narcissistic person doesn't receive the external validation they believe they deserve, and it can result in a high level of stress or hurt or illness. The emotional pain may turn into narcissistic rage. This rage is at the core of a narcissistic collapse. We have not seen rage out of Lori. We've seen frustration. We've seen anger. We've seen feistiness. I don't think we have seen rage where she's completely lost it at the judge. But maybe, I'm not a psychiatrist. I'm not diagnosing her. It's just something to think about when it came to the fact that she got sick after the judge denied her words, well, but truth, all of her emotions. Maybe she wasn't feeling well. Maybe she wasn't feeling it. Anyway, that was my pivot. Back to the jury. We went to lunch. We came back. Judge did some more questioning, and it ended up that here's who our jury is going to be. We have 8 men and 8 women, far different than the jury the last trial. It was 10 men, 2 women. We have a mix of ages. We have a young woman who I swear just graduated high school, probably not yet that young, early 20s, I would say. And then we have a man who is elderly. He's retired twice. Sweet old man, cowboy, wears a cowboy hat, just gracious. I think he's going to be the grandpa of the courtroom, you could say. There's also people who are black, white. You've got a mix of genders, as I said, of ages. It's quite a good mix. These people know nothing about the case. They come from different professions. You have one who's an Uber driver. You have one who works for the hospital healthcare system around here. You've just got a variety of all sorts of different people who are on this jury. And I think that's going to be good. I think that it will be a good mix of a jury. Of course, they don't know what's about to happen with them about this case, but they will be there at least the next week and a half. Now, here's what you should know about the jury. They have... I went through all this. Okay, I don't know why my graphics are out of place. They're jumping around. I'm sorry. The alternates here, I'll just pull this up. There we go. We talked about how there's 8 men, 8 women, mixes of age and race, different professions. The alternates will be selected by a lottery at the end of the trial. The judge made it clear that they shouldn't feel bad if they're not picked for the jury. That's just the way that it's set up, that there will be 12 normal jurors and 4 alternates. Of course, we lost 2 alternates in the last trial, so we'll see if they make it through. They cannot talk with anyone about this case. This was stressed over and over and over and over again. They can tell people they are on a jury, and they can tell people that they are serving for a week and a half. They can't refer to the case. They can't refer to the witnesses. They can't talk about it. And if someone tries to talk to them, then they need to walk away. So they get $300 up to $300 a day plus $12 in mileage. The $12 in the mileage, I think it's like 70 cents a mile. If you then need additional help, you can request jury assistance from the jury assistance pool. So that is how it is. It would be fascinating, maybe you all know, like which states pay the most for jury selection, because it's not a moneymaker. It's not, you're not going in it to make money. And a lot of people, if your work doesn't cover it, a lot of people can't afford to go on jury selection. So that's what we know about the jury. They will report tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. The trial is going to start. Last time it was pretty consistent. We started at 10:30. We ended by 4:30 every day. There's going to be some changes of times because Judge Kemp, it's actually his courtroom where this trial is happening. He's in there before Judge Beresky. So there's going to be a little bit of conflict there as far as timing wise. It's not like we can go in and start at 8 o'clock, but tomorrow we are starting at 10. Here's some differences between Arizona juries and Idaho. Jurors in Arizona can question witnesses. We saw this at the last trial with Charles. The jury, at the end of witnesses, they have a time they can write down their questions. They can send them in. They can't consult with their other jurors when they do these questions. They need to send them in on their own. The judge will then read the question. He may answer them. He may ask the witness to answer them. He may have the prosecutor or the defense ask the question, or he might completely ignore the question if it's not relevant to that particular thing. For instance, if someone says, "Where is Tylee? Where is JJ? You keep talking about them. Where are they?" It's likely the judge isn't going to have that brought in because they're not supposed to be mentioned in the case. But if they say, "Was the Jeep parked north or south facing?" that is something that could be relevant to the case, and the judge would allow that question to be asked. So jurors here can ask questions they cannot in Idaho. Jurors seem to have more freedom. What I mean by this is, prime example, today after court, all the media was outside. We were chatting, doing planning about tomorrow and whatnot. And all of a sudden, all the jurors walk out right by us. We had to stop talking about the case. We see them at lunch. I talked about this in the last trial. I was taken aback at how accessible they are, that I would never do it, but I could easily walk up and hand them my card and say, "Call me when the trial's over." I would not do that. because then they have been instructed that if anyone approaches them about the case, they are to let the judge know immediately. So they could immediately go back in and do that. Now, in Idaho, we never saw the jurors. They were protected like they were the Secret Service. They, like the president, they had security. They were put in a back room where they were kept the whole trial. They had meals together. Food was brought in. They were taken care of. They had snacks and drinks, and the court provided all that. Not the case here. They got to buy their own lunch. They don't get morning snacks. They can bring a lunch if they want, but they don't have to. So they do have more freedom here, and they have less time at the courthouse because the court, as I mentioned, starting at 10:30 in Idaho, we were going at 8:30. They had to be there. They had to be there to catch their van. I think like 7:45, 8 o'clock, because they all carpooled in, and they were there 8:30 to 3:34ish. Here it's 10:30 to 4. I kind of like these short days. In fact, I'm going to feel so spoiled when Brian Koberger, when that trial happens, because that's back to the 8:30 to 3:30 bit. And I know so many of you were like, why don't they go 8 to 5? That is a long day. I felt the same thing, like, oh, that's going to be easy peasy. Until you're in a courtroom, sitting there, hearing all this stuff, it can be exhausting, especially if you're a juror trying to take it all in and you're just sitting. Sit for 2 hours, listen, go eat, sit, go to the bath. I mean, it's just when you're so used to moving and doing different things, taking your calls on your email, on your phone, it can be a lot. So this does give them some flexibility to do their work in the morning or in the evening if they have to, but they will have less time at the courthouse. And as again, I mentioned the same rules. You cannot talk to anybody about the case. They cannot. And if they do, they need to let the judge know what is happening with that. All right, so there's what we have. So the jury is back tomorrow. Now, one person who came to court today, it was packed, by the way. We had a lot of people there. Every seat was taken. Taz, you might remember her. I interviewed her during the last trial, right after. She was a juror in Lori Vallow's case concerning Charles Vallow. She came today. She wanted to be here to listen in, to hear what they had to say. And I caught up with her with some reporters after the trial today, or after the hearing today, and here's what she said.
I wanted to see what it was like on the other side. Being on the jury was pretty intense, so being on the stand side now, it's a lot different because it's not her eye. She's not looking at you at all times, and you're not having to focus so intensely. And as far as being
coming back.
Yeah, as far as coming back, I'm gonna try to make it a couple more days. However, my job is like, why is it more important? But they don't understand. So yeah, I'm gonna try to make it a couple more days for sure. The sentencing though.
Yeah. What did you think seeing Lori?
I felt like I was getting flashbacks. I was like, oh my gosh, it's intense knowing everything now and seeing her after knowing everything now. But it's a lot easier that we don't have to actually stare her in the eyes like we did previously.
I see you have the band on that was given out at the end of the other trials with the victims' names so far. What is it, what does it mean to be wearing that?
A lot. Being able to be a part of something like this means a lot. So I like it. I'll probably keep it on just to represent that. Yeah.
Have you done a deep dive on the case since last time?
Yes.
And what's been the biggest shocker to you?
All of it. Like, all of it is so crazy to me that someone could be that kind of person.
What would you say for the 8 men and 8 women picked? Mm-hmm. Obviously they won't be listening to this, but what can they expect?
That it's intense. Like, it's really intense. If they have no idea coming into it, they have no idea what they're like getting into now, even though this is like a lower profile happening. I think it's still going to be just as intense.
And there you go. My thanks to Taz for chatting with us and for serving on that jury. I personally, if I was ever called to be on a jury, I would want to go back if there was another case similar to mine, and I would go. I'd be there. Okay, we have a couple more things tonight before we get to your questions and your comments. The big thing that we have tonight is our winners from our t-shirt contest. Our sponsor this time for Courtroom Insider is newspapers.com. They are offering you all 20% off this month. You go to newspapers.com/Nate, N-A-T-E. Check it out. So many fascinating things on there. And they said, Nate, let's do a giveaway. Let's do a giveaway for your Courtroom Insider audience. So last night I announced it and you almost crashed our website. I'm not kidding. We had so many people go on and enter that we had to kind of regroup and boost it. And so then it worked perfectly, I hope. We had so many people enter. Peggy, our moderator, our mama-rator, who deals with you all the time in the comments. I'm going to dial her up now. We're going to Zoom with Peggy. We're going to have her announce the winners from anywhere in the world. And let me just say that newspapers.com, great partner to work with. I mentioned they're going to be at CrimeCon. I've seen them at Roots Tech. They are, if you're into history, true crime, really news, you got to subscribe. Okay, let's dial in Peggy. I got to switch over to this other computer to talk to Peggy. Okay, so Peggy, I just checked. We had nearly over 1,500 people enter this contest. And here's the crazy thing is that we had 1,500 people enter, more than that, but we had over 11,000 click on the page. So I don't know what the rest of you did when you went to enter, but at least you wanted to check it out. So this is the hottest contest in town, Peggy.
It is. I think we actually broke our link yesterday. We kind of got a glitch. We were so overpowered at first.
I know. It was very popular. You all want a t-shirt. And the cool thing was that anybody in America could win this. In the world, I should say, could win this. So drum roll. I don't have a sound effect machine here, Peggy, but what can you tell us? Who is our first winner?
Our first winner is Lynn Garrett from Richmond, Kentucky.
Kentucky. Lynn, you got a coming to you. So what we're going to do, by the way, winners, we will email you tonight and get check your information that you put in. And then the shirt will be in the mail from newspapers.com. Who is winner number 2?
Hilda McDade, McDade from Menstrie, Clackmannanshire, Scotland.
Oh, Scotland. We have a lot of Scottish viewers, it seems.
We do.
Yeah, every night. Awesome. Okay, Scotland's going to be repping newspapers.com. Who do we have our third winner?
Our third winner is Kimberly McDonald from Bank, Montana.
Bank, Montana.
Or Cut Bank. I'm not sure which.
Montana. Kimberly, congrats to you. Who is our fourth winner?
So exciting. Okay. Pam Mohammed from Richardson, Texas.
Yay, Texas. So, by the way,
Texas is in the house.
We picked these winners at random, and it actually wasn't Peggy that picked them. It was someone else on our team, so don't blame us if we didn't pick you. We have one more winner. Big thanks to newspapers.com for sponsoring this contest and sponsoring our Courtroom Insider. Our final winner
is Ottmar Schmidt-Bergweg from Bavaria, Germany.
Germany. Nice. Yay, congrats to all of you. What do you think, Peggy? Was the contest a hit? Should we do it again? Something like that?
Oh, it was a huge hit. I'm excited about it. I appreciate everyone in our comments. Remember, you can comment every day on YouTube as we're together during the trial. And you're welcome to reach out via Facebook, email.
Yeah.
With specific questions if you want.
Right. And we're going to get to those questions in just a minute. I know you all have questions. And with the trials starting tomorrow court, so we're clear, starts at 10 o'clock early in Arizona time.
Yeah.
11 o'clock Mountain. We're going to start our stream at 10 o'clock Mountain. Even though it's the standby graphic, though, Peggy, people can still go in and chit chat, right?
Yes. We usually have a lot of chit chatting for an hour before it starts. If you don't want to do that, don't come on. But we invite you to. And just hang with us and have a great time.
Well, they can come on. They just don't have to chit chat. They can read the comments.
That's exactly right. And I had a giant Coke before I came on the air, so I'm super jittery.
Coca-Cola does that to Peggy. She wanted to be amped up for this live shot. She wanted to be amped. Peggy, you are so amped. And if Coke did that to me, I would be like this all day, every day. I'm not, because Coke is my drink of choice. Peggy, thanks so much.
Thank you.
I'm going to let you log off because we're about to get to shout-outs and questions. So I'll let
Perfect.
you.
Good night.
Okay. Thanks, Peggy. Okay, well, there you go. Thank you, Peggy. And congrats to all of the winners who are getting a newspapers.com shirt. You can learn more about newspapers.com on their website. They have more information there. I do want to pause for a moment here to remember the victims in this case. This is something that I've tried to do every Courtroom Insider, but I realized this trial, I really haven't, because I'm just going to be candid with you. Brandon is alive. Thank goodness he's alive. Sometimes when the victim lives, for some reason we think, oh, well, they lived, they're fine. But in reality, he's a victim and he could have died. And there are more victims associated around this, as we know. And it's been a little while since I've put up these photos, but I don't want to forget, in the chaos of motion hearings and illnesses and wheelchairs, that gets clicks. I know it does. We all want to talk about it, without a doubt. It's newsworthy. I totally get it. But these two little kids, this is what we need to remember. JJ and Tylee and Charles and Tammy. They're not little kids, but they're someone's kids, and they were someone's parents, and they were killed. And we know that now. We know who killed them. We know who orchestrated their killings. They have been thought of and prayed for, their families, all of that. And so we think about JJ and Tylee, we think about Charles and Tammy, and we think about Brandon. Brandon's a dad. He's got children. He's got a wonderful wife. He has a life. And as you heard yesterday, talking with Rich Robertson, he thought that his life could be on the line. And he mentioned this to me. I hope you won't mind me. Brandon mentioned this, that he told me that when he went to Rich Robertson, Rich probably thought he was crazy. Because could you imagine tomorrow going to a private investigator and saying, my spouse, I think, wants me dead, and maybe my children, and her aunt is crazy, and her uncle is this, and this was back in October, before they knew where the kids were, before they even knew the kids were dead, before Tammy Daybell was dead, before Alex Cox was dead, all of that. Brandon's living it in real time, and then he's shot out on his way home from the gym. I can't imagine going through all that. But here we are, nearly 6 years later, 5.5, almost 6, and Brandon finally gets his trial. And that's why it's happening. It's happening. For those of you saying, why is Arizona wasting their time and money? Well, it's for Brandon. And as Rachel Smith said the other night, you can't specifically cut people out, certain victims or whatnot out, simply because they live. So tonight, I want to take a moment, and I hope to do this every night. I did it during a couple first trials, but sometimes forget. Brandon and Tammy and Charles and JJ and Tylee. Here is what you need to know for tomorrow. Actually, let me do this now, and then I'll go to your questions and your shout outs. June 5th, the trial, that's tomorrow. I'm going to begin posting written updates live at 11 o'clock on eastidahonews.com. That's Idaho Mountain Time. And then I'll start tweeting at that same time. The video will begin at 11:30, but we'll start the live video around 10:30. Again, that's Mountain Time, Mountain Daylight Time, Idaho time. So to make it simple, it's 10 o'clock Pacific, 11 o'clock Mountain, 12 o'clock Central, 1 o'clock Eastern. And then Courtroom Insider, of course, live every night from Phoenix at 8 o'clock Mountain, which is 7 o'clock Pacific time. So that's where you can get all the updates tomorrow. I will post it on my Facebook, my X, my Insta, and my East Idaho News. I'm going to have to post tonight. Elliot, my little son, had his t-ball game today. I try not to get too personal on here. I apologize, but I got to show you this picture of Elliot at t-ball, and he hit it. He hit the ball. This is him. I can't believe this little dude sitting on the sidelines. Shoot, I hope it focuses. There you go. Just chilling out when he was on a break, legs crossed. And then here's him. Oh, my wife's here we go. Here he's up to bat. Proud dad here. There we go. You had to try again. There he goes. I'm gonna be honest, it kills me getting the videos and not being there. I can't wait to be back and going to his games. You know what doesn't kill me? When my wife sends me this. That's our 3 kids in our bed I don't know. Shoot. I hope it focuses. I should put these up on the big screen for you. Darn it. It's not focusing. Yeah, here, I'll send it over to my computer and then maybe show you. They're on our very comfortable Twinkle mattress, which many of you have asked about, and it's holding up great, by the way. And Twinkle took such good care of us that if you're looking for a mattress, I would recommend them. This is what my wife had to go through last night. Look at all those kids in the bed. Emmy's in my spot. Elliot's in the middle. Everett is on the side. And Erica slept in another room. Parents, go figure. I don't miss that. I do not miss that at all. But I do miss the T-ball games. Alrighty, thank you. Let me go to the questions, the shout outs. Christine Larson, she says, Nate, thank you for sharing your road snacks. We had never seen the Sam's Club cranberry orange cookies. I got some today. They are so good. They are amazing. They're the cookie thins and they're good. I'm not getting paid to do this. They are so delicious. I could go through bags after bags. In fact, I'm out. I need to go pick some up tomorrow. Thank you, Christine, for watching, and thank you for your comment. Here are some other shout outs we have. Yasmin Hanfleen from Sweden. Thank you, Yasmin. Cami Day from Idaho Falls. Kathy Peterson from Vermont. I call my daughter, Kristen, every single night to recap the show. We love and appreciate you. Thank you, Kathy and Kristen. Appreciate you watching. I need to visit Vermont. My dad lived in New Hampshire when I was a teenager, and we went and visited him one summer, stayed in his apartment and got to see New Hampshire, and it was beautiful. MZ89 and her two cats, Loki and Yuri. Love the cats. Thank you. Holly Ramsey from New Zealand. Michelle Dunn from Ireland. Star Baird from Island Park and her sister Venus Clark. I love Island Park this time of year. Just love it. Can't wait to go up there when I get home in a few weeks. Jennifer Collins from Ammon, Idaho. Thank you, Jennifer. Robin Cornelius from New Albany, Indiana. Manassas, Virginia. Vicky Moyle. Brandon Kuhn from Clinton, South Carolina. I met a wonderful lady today who flew in from Georgia. I forget your name, ma'am, but it was great chatting with you and so great to see all of you who come to the trial. Questions. Hi, Nate. I'm finally going to come to the trial tomorrow. This is from Julie. Can you give me any advice or suggestions on what I can and cannot bring? All right, let me go through this with you. One of the main questions I'm asked is what time should you get there? People were there this morning at 5 o'clock. I don't know what time to tell you. I can tell you that in most days, everyone gets in. There are many days everyone doesn't get in. If the trial starts at 8, the courthouse opens at 7:30. I think if you're there by 7:30, you're safe. It's a little different for me because we do have media seating. So it's not all one pool. You don't have to compete against the reporters. We have a row of seats on the very back row. The public gets to sit up closer. I would say you might want to get there by 7:30, maybe 7. If you're an early bird, get up early and just go hang out. You'll have to wait outside the courthouse until they open the doors. Then you'll go up to the 5th floor. It's courtroom 5D in the South Tower. Don't go to Central Court Building. It's not there. Even though the computer might say it is, it's not. Don't bring any food or candy or drink. You can bring that and you can eat it outside the courtroom and drink it outside the courtroom. The only thing allowed in the courtroom is bottled water. Can you have mints? Yes, you can. I mean, obviously they don't want you in there eating a sandwich or eating beef jerky or cookies, but that's what you need to know. You have to take off your belt when you go through security. You have to put your purse in through the conveyor belt. You have to do all that, kind of like the airport. They'll wand you and everything. Many people say, where should I eat lunch? You get a 90-minute lunch break. There is a diner in the courthouse on the 1st floor. Also within walking distance is Chipotle, Jimmy John's, Five Guys, a bunch of other places that are pretty good in the area within walking, and you have 90 minutes. I mean, one day I even drove to Chick-fil-A nearby and was able to go there and make it back. So yeah, there's plenty of places to eat. The main thing I'd say is when you're in there, you have to be quiet, and don't react to, not that people do that, but sometimes they do, and it gets a little loud and you want to be focused. So I hope that helps. Get there when you can. You can always leave at the break. There's a morning break. So, court goes 10:30 to noon. Now it'll be 10 to noon, 90-minute lunch, 1:30 to 4:30 with an afternoon recess around 3. That's how it works. Hope that helps, Julie. Introduce yourself to me. The Pontoon Amigos, can you interview the judge in this case? And would you ever interview Justin Lum? I have interviewed Justin Lum. I would interview Justin Lum again. It's probably time that I do that. Reporters who work at TV stations, their bosses can be a little picky about them doing interviews with other competitors, quote unquote. But I think that I could get the okay, and I would love to interview the judge. Wouldn't it be amazing if I could do a sit down with Judge Beresky and Judge Boyce? Would you all watch that? We can do a panel. I'll be in the middle, one judge here, one judge here. Better yet, wouldn't it be awesome to get them together and just let them talk with each other? Like, oh, you'll never believe the day she did this, or oh, you won't believe this. They're probably too proper for that. They wouldn't do it. But man, if I was on their staff, I'd love to hear that. Yes, I'd love to interview the judge. I don't think he'll ever do an interview unless he retires. Then maybe he will. Does Lori refusing to come to court unless court ordered work against her to where the judge has to keep taking further actions? Could or does it not work in her favor? Let's say the opening statements start tomorrow or the trial continues tomorrow, but Lori refuses to come unless she is court ordered and keeps up this pattern. Does this lead to further consequences the judge will need to give Lori? Court's happening. The one order said all means necessary, including force. That means they would lift her out of her cell, put her in a chair, bound maybe, and roll her in there. It's happened with other defendants. There was one I saw yesterday that someone texted me from another case, I don't know where the lady was not, it was kind of a wheelchair, but it was like a strapped chair, and she blew a kiss to the camera when she came in. Yeah, the judge, she needs to go. She's defending herself. If she wasn't defending herself and her advisory attorneys were defending her, then she would have a little bit more leniency because they could go in and defend her while she's at the jail. And then she'd just show up on days she needs to testify, but she has to be there. Another Julie says, did you happen to watch the interview with 48 Hours and Chad's kids? If so, what did you think? And do you think they would answer differently now that he's been sentenced to death? I did watch the interview with 48 Hours and Chad's kids. And that's a hard question to answer. What did I think of it? I know that I'd love to talk to them, and I know that they still support their dad, and that this has caused a lot of heartache in their family, extended family. And I think that's all I'll say. But yeah, I'd love to talk to them, and I still think they'd probably say the same thing, at least some of the kids, maybe all of them. Jermaine, can we watch CrimeCon on YouTube? Good question, Jermaine. I think after the fact they put them on YouTube. I think you can, if you Crime HQ, you can join Crime HQ, which is their online service, which I've done a few things with them. And you can watch like last year's CrimeCon. I interviewed Summer Shiflett last year. I believe that's on there. You can go watch it. It's behind you got to pay a membership though. I think you can get a trial for 3 or 4 days. You won't be able to watch it live. You actually have to go to CrimeCon to watch, but I think after the fact that they may post some of those online. I don't know all the details about that. But I think that my wife, Erica, and I will go live from CrimeCon. Maybe we'll do some Courtroom Insiders if you all will watch. I don't know if you will. We did last year because the case was happening, the Chad Daybell. But yeah, I think we'll do some fun little videos, and I always love it when Erica can come on. Why is the investigator from last night, Michael asks, not testified in any of the trials? Is it because some of his methods would not hold up in court, GPS tracking, etc.? Probably, Michael. And private investigators, I don't know how often they testify. You could argue that, I don't know. Yeah, some of the putting a GPS tracking, maybe PIs, not saying that Rich did this, but like going through garbage cans, stuff like that, without a warrant, it might cause some issues. I don't think Rich went through garbage cans. I'm not saying that, but I don't know if I've ever covered a trial where a PI has testified. But man, they do some pretty good work in a lot of these cases. Some PIs are not good at all. One day, when I'm old and retired, I'll tell you a story about a PI that really has. Well, I'll stop there. Can Lori make money off teaching exercise classes in jail? No. But the ladies could offer her commissary and say, hey, teach me how to do aerobics, and I'll buy you I'll give you a Mountain Dew or something from the commissary. But they don't pay her. Who's sending Lori commissary money? People are. She gets it. She gets the commissary money. I'm not gonna. I know of a few. I have not sent her any money. I have sent her money to try to communicate with me on the iPad. Any word on Chad's adult children now? Michelle asks. We talked about that a second ago, Michelle, and I would say that they're still supporting their dad. Jenny says, was Alex the fall guy? I think so, without a doubt. I think Alex was the fall guy. He was willing to do whatever Lori wanted. How long would he have been the fall guy? Would he have eventually stopped and gone a different route or turned on Chad and Lori? Perhaps. Maybe. I think he could have seen that. Will the private eye from last night be called to testify? Katie asks. No, he's not on the witness list. He's not on the list, so he won't be called. What time does Lori get to court in the morning? Christine says. Well, she has to, from what I have heard, she has to get up very early, like 4 o'clock. They wake her up quite early to get ready because they bring over all the inmates from another jail. And often she's there early because this judge starts right on time and you better not have a late inmate. And they have to coordinate inmates coming and going from the jail. So she will often go to the courthouse and sit and wait. So she's there before 10:30. I don't know. Is sticking a GPS tracker on a U-Haul legal? Well, he wasn't charged. I don't know. I don't know if it's legal or not legal. Why was Brandon a target? He had $1 million life insurance policy. That's why. Joel says, can they, well, and because if he died, Melanie would have gotten all the money. And Melanie would have likely, or Lori and Chad would have told her, share it with us. Give us some money. $1 million. That's so much money. Joel says, can they medicate Lori for her symptoms? Can medication be forced upon someone in jail? No. In fact, I forgot to talk about this earlier. After the judge ruled that we were going to proceed with court, a few jurors were late. So we had to wait to actually get started today. And they sent all the jurors. The jurors weren't in the courtroom yet. The judge left, and then he came back out and was kind of standing at the door talking with Lori's attorney, and it was hard to hear. And I heard the word ibuprofen, but I don't know what it was in reference to. And then I heard her attorney say, you can't force her to take it. And the judge said, I'm offering it to her. So I don't know if the judge was like, does she want something? Does she want some medicine? And her attorneys are like, she doesn't have to take it. And I don't know if she ultimately did take it. But no, you cannot force her to be medicated from what I understand. And she is not taking any sort of psychiatric drugs. Can the judge send someone to check on Lori, or does he just have to require her to be there? The judge could. I mean, it's his call. He could say, okay, if you're too sick, I'm going to send my assistant down every day to check on you. But you're the defendant. It's very different than a victim. If Brandon Boudreaux was sick as a dog and wanted to be there every day for his trial, victims have a lot of rights. And they could say, we're going to hold off till Brandon's here every day. He deserves justice. We're going to make it happen. It's very different than if the defendant says, I'm sick. Can you hold off for a week? So, yeah, he could. I don't recall that Lori pleaded not guilty, did she? Oh, yeah, she did. She's pleaded not guilty. That's why we're going to trial. If she pleaded guilty, we wouldn't be going to trial. So she pleaded guilty she pleaded not guilty, and we will determine if the jury finds her guilty. Here's where you can find me again: Facebook, X, Insta, and YouTube. Tomorrow night we'll be here live, Courtroom Insider, breaking it down. There'll be court tomorrow, and then on Friday it starts at 9 o'clock, and it will probably go till like 4:30. So Friday's going to be a long day. They're going to get a lot in. Then trial will continue next week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Perhaps the judge seemed to indicate that he thinks we could be wrapped up by the end of next week. And if you think back to the other trial, I think it was 7 trial days. So that it will give us 7 trial days as of tomorrow, and they're extending some of the days. So they might really get through this quicker, all depending on Lori's defense. It will be interesting if Lori decides to question these witnesses, if she still feels under the weather, how much questioning she'll do. Maybe she'll just let it go by, or maybe she'll bring her, A game. I don't know. We'll have to see. But we could have a verdict by Father's Day, which would be appropriate for Brandon as a father. Lori's verdict came the Friday before Mother's Day. She was found guilty the Friday before Mother's Day in her Idaho trial. Would be interesting if she's found guilty the Friday before Father's Day in this trial. If not, then that week will be dark. The week of June 15th, 16th, 17th, 18th. The judge has a conference that week, so there'll be no court that week. And then if we're not done, we'll be back here for the 23rd and 24th of June. It could go into that. If she's found guilty here, she will be sentenced in conjunction with the Charles Vallow case, likely within 30 to 60 days, so sometime this summer. Once that sentence is handed down, she's on her way back to Idaho. And I'll be at the sentencing, and who knows, maybe if we leave that day, I'll pass her as they're driving her. Could you imagine if I'm driving and I see Lori and we're like waving? Lori, give me an interview. What do you have to say? That sounds familiar. I've done that before. All right, everybody, have a good night. Thanks for watching. Be back in the morning. I'll post an update on our YouTube when I'm headed into court, and I'll be with you all day long. And thank you very much for watching. Have a good night.